Questions? I was replicating last week's week of preparation carried over into this week with the different circumstances just coming off the two games.
In terms of like our schedule or intent?
Focus, just the way that you guys just kind of attacked the week.
Yeah, I thought it was the same, in full transparency. As I said, I thought it was the same for Indiana too. I thought that was a great week. So I think a lot of things that we're learning about is just, getting into the game, managing the situations, managing, success and adversity and handling those. We've been very good at handling adversity after games and coming back and rebounding. I think the older guys have told me since the day I got here, hey, we're built for that. It's about handling it within the game. So I thought we did a better job of that last week. We'll have to do it again this week.
You expect to have Tommy Hill available on Saturday?
Not sure. He's practiced a little bit. He didn't practice Tuesday, practiced a little bit Wednesday, but I'm not sure.
With that secondary, they've forced an interception in every game but one this year. I mean, just what do you like about the way that they've been able to force those turnovers? Yeah.
Well, we're beat up. That's we don't have Malcolm, we don't have Tommy. Potentially Tommy. Malcolm's doing his best to get back, but I don't think that he will. So we'll be counting on some other guys as well. But they're competitive. Part of that is we have a great rush. So that helps. I think everything on defense is interrelated. Now we're seeing an offense this week led by Coach Bieniemy that's truly a West Coast rhythm offense. I mean, the ball's out. Quarterback hits his third step, the ball's out. One hitch, the ball's out. They're not built to turn the ball over. They do an excellent job of getting it out of their hands, but I think our guys are, they're focused. We play a lot of coverages. They study a lot and prepare, and hopefully whoever's out there will play to a good standard.
What is Hartzog's injury?
He hurt his hamstring on that first drive of the fourth quarter in the last game. So Jeremiah went in and played most of the rest of that after he was down.
If both those guys are out, Hill and Hartzog, do you expect Charles to start?
Yeah, we're planning on Jeremiah to start.
What's he shown? Jeremiah, just in terms of what his skill set is and how he's able to help.
Yeah, Jeremiah is a tremendous athlete. He's had to play in some serious situations. He has the benefit of going against two of the best wideouts in the league last week, and so he should be very confident. He goes against those guys and comes out and does a good job. So he's probably not many guys as fast as him. Just like any young player, building their confidence. Building. It's a lot different when you're older and you've played a lot and you've had good days and bad days and you can do it. When you have a bad moment, like Ty Robinson has a bad play or Giff has a bad play, they think it's just a bad play. When you're young, if you have a bad play, you think it's condemning of your ability, but it's not. Jeremiah is going to be an excellent player, and this will be quite a challenge. And he's practiced well this week; he'll be ready.
How did John Holt follow up this week? Sounds like I think Sat said he maybe put on a show in the wind on Tuesday.
Yeah, well, just he's the ultimate example we've been able to use for the players of just trusting the process. A lot of times all of us, we forget about the concept of development. Coaches, we forget about it. As parents, we forget about it. Players sometimes forget about it. John's proven that, like, if you just show up every day, no one can give you confidence. You have to develop. You have to work your technique over and over and over again. You have to suffer some hard moments. And then, the time comes and you're ready. Hopefully you've developed enough that you can make the plays. And so he had a great week this week. You know what? He might go out and he might make one. He might miss one. But we know what he can do. And so full trust on our end, moving forward.
Is there anything that UCLA does specifically that's kind of allowed them to have success stopping the run in the way that they have this year?
Yeah, they well, first of all, they have excellent defensive linemen. I mean, they're two inside guys. There's a whole group of people that play. Like Kentucky's doing it, Oregon does it some. They're doing quarters teams that get two huge athletic big men inside and they kind of two gap and let you play coverage. And that's what they are. I mean, they're rugged, they're aggressive, they're physical. The linebackers do a great job running through gaps. They're elusive. They attack. Two is as good a pass rusher as we'll see. So they just have really good players up front. and then they'll play man and bring pressure. So they're able to sit there and play too high and stop the run, and then they'll also, when they need to, they'll bring different pressers. But I just think they have excellent players. You know, well coached. They have excellent players, and they've the most yards they've given up rushing is 150 some to LSU. I mean, no one's really run the ball on them at a high level. You know, we've given up 200 some to Indiana, but yet they haven't. So
Big 12 was taking back a bunch of the in-helmet communication. Have you had any issues at all from?
that's every conference. Yeah, we had to send ours back.
Oh, really?
We had to have ours upgraded last night.
Do you anticipate getting them back, like, before the game? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah, I think ours are done. Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's the first I heard of it yesterday. I got a call from a coach saying, "Hey, there's some sort of issue," and I wasn't involved in it. Susan and those guys were involved in Jay getting it upgraded. So hopefully everything's secure.
Never had any issues or anything that you noticed from that?
Well, I would think if someone was listening to what we were saying, they probably wouldn't tell us. So it's the first I heard of it yesterday. I know teams have known about it. You know, some teams have known about it. We didn't. So I don't really know much more than that. But hopefully nothing happened. Non-integrous.
Coach, three true freshman DBs, Caleb Benning, Braylon Prude, and Donovan Jones. Can you just talk about their development, what you've seen from them lately?
Yeah, we took them on the trip. You know, the hope was, I think Donovan played early one game. You know, they've been doing a really good job practicing first on the scout team and then moving over. And you know, and we've used some, like, you know, Larry, Tarver, Amari Sanders. They used some of their games early. You know, but you know, I think we have a group of guys over there that will come out of this year with a bonus year, and but can help us down the stretch. So I think, you know, I'm not saying you will, but you could see some of those guys, you know, play on special teams. I think you probably will see Donovan a little bit this week. You know, with, you know, it's a long season. You know, we're coming down the stretch here with 4 games left, and we have some guys who can help us with depth and also with, you know, special teams. So, but I'm really happy with that group. You know, I think they've worked really hard, practiced really hard. They have a good veteran group ahead of them to learn from. You know, guys like Mario Buford have been playing all year, but those other guys, they'll help us hopefully.
Are there still guys that could go either way in terms of their red shirts at this point?
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't burn anyone's red shirt at this point.
Is a guy like Trevor Corcoran somebody who could potentially red shirt?
That's probably a different situation. That's more of a personal decision on his end. You know, if he's not back yet, if he gets back and could play, we'd have him ready to play. And if he wants to, you know, red shirt and come back next year, then, you know, we would do that for him. But that's really, you know, a personal decision for him, and I wouldn't ask him to even think about that until he's actually healthy. You know, he hasn't taken a rep in a practice yet, so I think he's still a ways away. And, you know, the unique thing now is if you do redshirt, you can play in the postseason. So, you know, getting to the postseason is big. I don't think people understand. Well, I shouldn't say people do understand it. I don't think, you know, for me, realizing that these guys haven't had that, you know, that's an extra 2 weeks to a month of practice, and real practice, right? Preparation. I mean, it's like an extra spring ball. So when you look at the guys on our team who are sophomores, juniors, and seniors, I think that they've never had that time, how much it can develop them. I mean, from week 1 till the first bye week, seeing what happened, you know, the development of like Braylon and the guys you just asked me about, and that's across the board. You know, it's across the board. So I think postseason would, you know, again, it's a great rule, but it's one thing, like we used to be, we'd get those guys to the bowl game, just practice them. Now we're practicing to try to have them play in the game. And so I mean, I think it's a huge opportunity for a lot of guys. So if Turner comes back and he decides to, if depending on the timing, if he does redshirt, still playing the bowl game would be really big for him.
Anything else?
All right.